Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We respectfully disagree with some of the comments that have been made. In particular, we think the Board of Aldermen is subject to unfair criticism when the suggestion is made that there's been no effort to redevelop what is now green space. The Central Business District Design Guidelines were adopted in 2002. And since that time, the board has had 2 studies with respect to your historic downtown area. Both those studies have indicated that what you need to do is to attract an anchor tenant to your downtown area that will then increase traffic and bring people downtown, which will benefit everybody around downtown. For now 13 years, the most valuable space in Raytown has been dedicated to Summerfest and a barbecue contest, and that is not the most productive use of that property. That property, if you approve this proposal, will generate significant sums of money for every taxing jurisdiction in Raytown. And it is illustrative that after all this time, all you had was a proposal from Ida's Bridal that required you as a city to reimburse the developer 60% of its cost, and it still could not find financing. What that project required is now a part of the public record. And the public record clearly says that what they were seeking was first to buy the land for $605,000, which is roughly $50,000 less than Walmart is offering you. Then they wanted the property for free. They wanted tax increment financing, a community improvement district, and tax abatement not for just 10 years, but for the full 23 years. In comparison, Walmart is before you asking for nothing, no public subsidy whatsoever, and an opportunity to become a contributing member to your downtown and to help you in your effort to revitalize it. We think the board has been diligent, has been responsible, and we hope that you will continue along that vein and approve this project. I promised to make it brief, and I think I will. You've heard the arguments. The hour is late. I'm not sure that anything else can be accomplished with further comment from us. We appreciate your patience, and we ask for your favorable consideration.
There's a gentleman from Walmart wants to speak. I got this working. In this process, Mr. Brian, we're going to probably ask him some questions. So we are in discussion on Mr. Van Duster.
Right now, I just want to make one comment, one statement relative to something that said specifically about me this evening. For the record, I have never said a development would bring in the ghetto. That's not my words. I didn't say that. The gentleman spoke when I said that. That was his word, not mine. I just wanted to make the record straight.
Any discussion? Mr. Green, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually have a point of information for our city attorney. Would this be the appropriate time to bring it up?
Do it.
All right. Well, it's my understanding that we would need a supermajority required for passage of this application as planning and zoning voted not to approve this proposal. And I'm obviously citing Chapter 16-14, Paragraph B of the Raytown Code of Ordinances.
Mr. Rowland.
I don't have that section in front of me, I'll have to look at it.
I have it here if you wish.
Page 3, the amendment procedures say that we majority vote. There's no special protest.
On chapter 16, I can read it to you if you wish, just to get another perspective on this. It's in regards to planning and zoning.
Zoning ordinance, chapter 26.
This is planning and zoning in regards to the effect of disapproval. I can produce it for you if you wish. I mean, it's a point of clarification, if you will.
We can get it.
Okay.
And we can even take 5 minutes.
Okay, time to look at it.
That's fine. That's why I want to bring up this juncture.
We're going to take a 5-minute break and let you two converse. Okay, when we took our break, the question had been raised by Mr. Green, and he and Mr. Bullock were conversing, and I think we're all just dying to hear what the outcome is.
Mr. Mayor and Alderman, it's my opinion that the section that Alderman Green refers to, chapter 16 on planning, deals with the adoption by the planning commission of the comprehensive plan. Within that section 16.22 says that where there was a major street plan and the council, the planning commission ruled against the proposal for the modification of the street plan, that would require affirmative votes of 2/3 of this body to approve or adopt the change that they didn't recommend with respect to the street plan within the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan is a unique document that's in the purview of the planning commission. They draft the major plan. They're not a recommending body on the comprehensive plan. They are the body that adopts it. We tonight are in a rezoning procedure, and that's governed by section 23 of your city code, which would say that once there is that the planning commission is a recommending body, they can additionally approve or deny, and then the matter comes before this body, and if you have the same 3 options, following proper notice and public hearing. So in my opinion, it will be a majority vote tonight. There's not been any legal protest filed. This is the same procedure, by the way, in our chapter 23, that is chapter 89 of the Missouri statutes. So the only thing that would change the vote would have been a legal protest filed by over 30% of the property owners within 185 feet of the subject property. No such protest was filed. That would have changed the vote to a 2/3 vote. But with no such protest having been filed, the protest petition properly notarized, received, and served on the clerk prior to this hearing, the matter then is for a majority vote, in my opinion, tonight before this alters.
All right, very good. Any questions, Mr. Wallace, on that?
Yes, Mr. Director. First, I'd like to thank the city attorney and the mayor for bearing with me. I appreciate that. I just would like to read this for public record. I'm referring to section 1614, Raytown City Code of Ordinances. In effective disapproval, in the case of disapproval, the commission shall communicate its reasons to the council, and by council, by a vote of not less than 2/3 of its entire membership may overrule the disapproval. So that's really I can read on, I won't. That's the highlight of that, at any rate. Thank you.
All right, so we're in full agreement that Mr. Willard's, we'll go with Mr. Willard's interpretation of it, correct? Heads nodding. Wait. All right, we continue with more discussion and/or questions of the applicant.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kramer.
I had a lot I was going to say, but because of the lateness in the hour, I'm going to shorten what I plan on saying. I want to start out by thanking everybody that came out tonight to voice their opinion. We do value your opinion. We also value the opinion of the people that we bump into on the streets, in the local shops, at the gas station. The comments they make are just as important to us. Somebody referenced the silent majority earlier, and there's a lot of people that each and every one of us has spoken to. And I was going to read it, but I'll just Kansas City Business Journal did an article about this downtown redevelopment development and talks about what a good thing that it would be for downtown Raytown. One of the things that I did, and I spent the last 2 weeks doing, I spent a lot of time with our economic development director, going over what Red and Dial and other developers that we've talked to, and people that he's entertained, and people that he's asked questions after this development issue came up. And one of the things that we found out, and we heard that it's $4 a square foot at Raytown Plaza. The average in downtown Raytown is about $5 a square foot, or basically the same selling price as a vacant piece of land. Now, in downtown Lee Summit, the average rent goes for $11 to $20, depending on location, for rent, for commercial space. Zona Rosa is 25 to 30. Most developers feel like, and the gentleman that had the figures, some developers, and they were very close to what some developers were saying. They were saying it would represent $25 a square foot for commercial rental in downtown Raytown, with a median income of $41,000 within 1 square mile of downtown Raytown, and the median income for $41,000 per household within that square mile would support about $10 a square foot. So it's not an affordable thing that these other people would like. We do know that when you bring an anchor tenant to a situation like this, it brings other opportunity, and there are other opportunities out there. Kind of what we read, the 2 readings before we get to this Walmart issue were about commercial space in downtown that the landlords couldn't get anybody into, and so they turned it into apartment space. Basically, someplace for somebody to live, because as they put it, this is not an economic time to fill buildings commercially. We would love to do it, we would make more money, but we just want to put somebody in the building. So that's kind of the reality of our downtown. As I brought up to Mr. Benson in the last meeting, our downtown area has been designated for 353 tax abatement, and the main reason that was given that we were designated for 353 tax abatement is because of blight. And blight is poor condition of buildings and the number of vacancies. So basically our downtown is blighted, and when I see the signs that say "Save Downtown," I question whether that it means if I'm supposed to save the blight and preserve that, or whether I'm supposed to work towards, as a board member who represents all of Raytown, that whether I want a redeveloped downtown. Realistically, if we sit on this piece of property, we've sat on it for 12 years now. I believe it was 2001 that the city purchased this property, and it eventually had that building torn down. We've had 2 developers that the city spent $100,000 on to try to bring redevelopment to our downtown, and they couldn't do it, but both of them said that it would require, somebody referenced a 40,000 square foot grocery business, but in their writings it was a 60,000 square foot grocery business, or 1/3 larger than Walmart has proposed with their neighborhood market. So I ask you to kind of reflect on the reality of it, and when it is that we're going to be able to support $25 a square foot for commercial rental in downtown. Really, you look at Lee Summit 30 years ago, Raytown had higher property values than Lee Summit, and something occurred that they did that we didn't do. They developed, and development brought people that could support, that had the median income to support that development. You look at Kansas City, Kansas. Kansas City, Kansas was the black eye of the Kansas City area 30 years ago. And they brought a racetrack, and they brought business, they increased the median income in their community, and they created jobs. And you know, we can have a union rep say, well, they're not union jobs, but they're jobs. They're jobs. And people are out there that have to support their families, and whether you like it or not, some people have to start at minimum wage. I started at minimum wage. When I first started working, I was paid $2.35 an hour. And I make much, much more than that, but I worked hard to get where I got. And I didn't settle for that income, and I didn't settle to accept that for the rest of my life. I made choices in my life, and there are people, just as the young man from Walmart said, that he got in there, he started out part-time, he worked hard, and he worked his way up. And there's people like that all through Walmart, all through Hy-Vee, all through these other companies that are out there. But I would challenge you that without this development in downtown Raytown, we will never see revitalization.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a question? In the confusion we had, Alderman Green and I, did you actually get the public hearing closed?
I don't recall, so that's the public comment.
I understand.
I don't.
And then the applicant gave their rebuttal, and I just wanted to
I
know
don't recall having
procedurally.
to close the public hearing.
Okay, so procedurally, you want to do that before you go into the discussion?
It is now
Does
closed.
that mean I gotta repeat everything?
No.
Public hearing is closed. We continue with board discussion. Thank you. You're complete, Mr. Kramer?
Yes, I'm good.
Ms. Nelson?
Okay. So I'm on with questions and started it way back, probably 4.5 hours ago. But my question was, and this is the applicant, about the site to store. And that I believe it was said that yes, it's going to be a site to store where people can order items, they can be delivered there, but it would not be a layaway situation. And I just want to make sure that I understood that correctly.
So Site to Store's
I'm sorry.
please.
Tell me how I give you your name.
Absolutely. Kerry Crispin. I'm the market manager over in the southwest part of Kansas City Metro. I supervise 8 stores over there. Site to Store is one of those options that we provide for our customers to enable them to purchase things that they wouldn't readily have available to them, and the convenience of having it shipped directly to the local store. Neighborhood Markets, approximately 2 years ago, started that process as well to provide that service to our customers locally. My experience, I supervise the neighborhood market at 103rd and Metcalf, and last year at our peak, we had approximately 24 foot of our back room space taken up by Site to Store at its peak. So never would we go outside of the facility, never would we really require any additional space. It's specifically designated Site to Store where space in the stores to provide that convenience. But I think, the layaway, and don't want to assume, but the layaway issue can grow very dramatically around the holiday time frame in providing that service, but it's dramatically different with the Site to Store option versus the layaway.
And so with that, so it's not the layaway thing, and that all the items would be contained in the space that you all have. And so if I order something, it's shipped there, then I come and pick up, whether it's a 52-inch screen TV or it's a Band-Aid box.
Exactly. That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then where's the delivery of that? Is that through the front entrance?
No, we use the value of that Site to Store option is we already use our existing logistics infrastructure. So all of our regional distribution center trucks deliver that order specifically on that truck that might be delivered to our store, and then it goes through the back door in our receiving area.
Right, but if I want to come pick it up,
Correct.
I go through the front door, pick it up, and go out the front door?
Yes, just like a customer coming in purchasing merchandise, you're just completing that pickup.
And do you find that, like with your 103rd Street store, that it's widely used? I mean, it's a lot of more, it doesn't increase the traffic and the input throughout the year, mostly at Christmas?
Yeah, the majority of that business is going to be centralized around that Cyber Monday and the purchases around the holidays. It's the customers that we see in a neighborhood market every day or every week that are taking advantage of that service because it's right there local, it's convenient for them, and they're just, trying to, maybe they don't have a car or a vehicle, and so they're literally trying to get it to the closest proximity to their house.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. And, okay, let me look at the question.
Yes, I have concerns, and a lot of people have asked me to make these known for them also. Walmart has refused to downsize the building. Many people would be very willing to have a Walmart neighborhood grocery store if it was not going to be 42,000 square feet. They would like for it to face the street, like our plan has been in the past. A drive-through pharmacy would not be what we would consider good because you would have your traffic. You want a walking area, and you would have traffic coming out of there. They're going to sell liquor. They're going to sell cigarettes. We already have liquor stores around that would probably go out of business. Also, we have the cigarette store across the street that I'm sure would be going out of business also. I and other people believe that small businesses will be driven out of Greytown. That will leave nothing but empty spaces again, and we will lose a lot of jobs, and people will be working for less than they're making now. The heavy traffic of big trucks coming in and out. You've talked about the landscaping, but again, you've got Bowen Tower over there, Bowen Apartments over there that have high-rise, and all of the other stores don't have high-rises, just the Bowen Apartments, and they would have to look down at the trash. They would have to listen to the trucks, and supposedly they're not supposed to move at night, during the night and early morning hours, but they will. And I think that somebody said that most of the people at Bowen Tower were for this. I have spoken to a number of them, and they are not. The safety, we've already done the safety for the pedestrians and for the children. We've got the library and the high school. And the bike lane, you would certainly have trouble because you would have the cars and the trucks going here and there, and the bicyclists would not be safe. They also have, Walmart has indicated that they want to buy the property on 63rd Street, and then Greytown residents would have no control over what their downtown really would be. And we've got the Rock Island Railroad, we've got Google, and we've got the Katy that are in the works. And I think that the green space will be much more valuable in a very short future. And the citizens of Greytown own the property. I mean, it's their tax money that is paid for. Granted, they went and got a grant to tear it down, but that's still taxpayers' money that paid for that. And most of the people that I have talked to do not want this rezoned in the way that Walmart would like to have it rezoned. And during my campaign for alderman, there were, out of the 1,602 homes that I visited, I talked to over 650 people. One person out of all of those people wanted to have a Walmart because the pharmacy was someplace they could walk because Fox's Drugs would not, their insurance company would not allow them to use Fox's Drugs. Fox's Drugs has been here 70-some years, and they said, well, Gary was getting ready to retire, but Gary is not willing to sell the property. So I think that's a misconception on a lot of people's thing. The tax abatement, they say they do not want that, but you know, after, if they're allowed to purchase this, what kind of tax incentives do they want us to have? I think it would be better to us lease the land, and when they decide that it's not economical for them to be here, then we still own the land, and we can do what we need to do with it. I've also heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the Walmart at 40 Highway, where the Blue Ridge Mall used to be, is in the rears on their taxes. And I really don't want that to happen to Raytown. I just think that changing the zoning of this property, we would have to do it for any business that comes into our area. And we've already got our zoning thing, and I just think that this would be wrong to change it. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. Mr. Benson, help me out with regarding the leasing of the land. I've heard some numbers that you may have as far as, and a couple of people talked about it tonight as well. Ownership, Walmart's ownership versus the city leasing it to them. And I understand if we lease it to them, we essentially give them a tax abatement because we're still owning the property, therefore we're not collecting any property tax on it. Can you expand on that, please?
That's exactly right. If the city owns or any governmental entity owns property and leases it, then whoever they're leasing that property to pays no property taxes. So in effect, they have a tax abatement on the real estate property. And so it wouldn't be just the city losing out. The school district, the library, fire district, Jackson County, all of those tax entities that collect property tax would not get any property tax from the development. So if they were to lease it, it in effect gives them a tax incentive in that regard.
They would still pay sales tax, correct?
Yes, they would pay sales tax, but the school district gets no sales tax. They don't collect any sales tax. And they would still pay, Walmart would still pay personal property tax, which there would be some benefit to tax entities for that. But the real estate property tax, they would pay nothing.
Please.
Mr. Van Busker.
I am going to have other comments I want to make, but just a couple of things. And one gentleman talked earlier about big sign on the side of the building. You know, I want businesses to succeed. The bigger the sign, the better. I want people to know that businesses are there. We're not talking about the little monument signs because they still have agreed to adhere to that. I have problems with those myself because I think monuments belong in cemeteries, not in businesses, because they kill businesses, but that's a whole other issue. But they have agreed to that. One thing that I did want to ask the Walmart representatives here, something that has been brought up several times by a number of people, concerns that about the possibility of Walmart leaving that facility and leaving it empty in a short time. And I would like to hear you address that. And if there's some possibility of something you could do to relieve those concerns for us, some type of a fallback, if you will. Normally that's done when there's tax incentives, but something to that effect that you might agree to, then I would like to hear about it. And if you're not able to do that, let us know there.
Alderman Van Buskirk, no matter what business goes in not only that green space, but any space in Raytown, there is a risk that that business may not do so well and could possibly close. We're here to suggest to you that there's less risk in connection with a Walmart than any other store. As some of the witnesses have indicated, a Walmart is financially has a greater GDP than most countries in the world, and certainly any other retail company in the world. And so it is able to withstand the downturn in an economy better than any other company in America. We can't guarantee that this store will be profitable, but I think it a reasonable assumption that it will be. The fact that Walmart has successfully operated better than 3,500 stores in America indicates that it knows a little bit about what it's doing. The fact that it's expanded worldwide and now has as many stores internationally as it does in the United States attests to the fact that it does a pretty good job of projecting what stores will be profitable and what stores will not. For reasons that are supported by demographics, by data, by history, by economics, Walmart has studied this market and decided that it believes it can be profitable. I may offer Tiger Woods the way I handle my golf club. I might try to tell George Brett how to hold a bat, but chances are I won't. They know what they're doing. And in this instance, I think it a reasonable assumption that Walmart does too. And there's no guarantee, but you have a better likelihood with Walmart than with any other store in the world.
I'm sorry,
If I could.
Your comment.
Yes, please. I think a couple of things that are important to reference is the Supercenter neighborhood market strategy and a little insight behind what Walmart's position is on that. The Supercenter is that one-stop shop. That stock-up one-stop shop that provides everything in one place to the convenience of our customers. The focus of that neighborhood market is to really be localized and to provide the goods and services that are unique for that customer in that locality. And making sure, I think of my neighborhood market on 103rd in Metcalf and Overland Park. It's right behind a Jewish synagogue. And that store manager recognizing their customer because he's out there on the floor day in and day out. Again, Heather has a huge responsibility with hundreds of associates. And in a neighborhood market, we're talking about, significantly, a third of that, maybe 85 to 100 associates. And their ability to interact with the local community and understand the needs of that local community. And so that neighborhood market was able to tailor their merchandise offering to service that Jewish community that wasn't being serviced anywhere else. So I think there's a really unique opportunity within the neighborhood markets to provide that localized touch that one size fits all offers to everybody, but we can get really specific. Now, the second part of it is the neighborhood market concept is really Walmart's growth vehicle going forward. And I think it really speaks to the success that format has produced for our company and the plans that the company has going forward to continue to take neighborhood markets into communities to help supplement and to complement that supercenter offering, or in areas that are underserved from a grocer perspective. So from a longevity perspective, again, in no way can I sit there in my position to look forward and project that, yes, I guarantee it's going to be profitable. Yes, I guarantee it's going to be here for years to come. But I know that our company's commitment to a community like Raytown, and I know our company's success with this format, because we've really spent a tremendous amount of energy of customizing that assortment in those buildings to maximize the needs of our, meeting those needs of our customers.
The concern certainly is, we had a Walmart store at the west end of our town. Then Walmart grew and built a supercenter, but then that building sat idle for a long time. Certainly we're still paying property taxes on it. You still own the property, that's true. And I guess that's why people have such a concern, because they saw that. And now, fortunately, you did sell that to Southern Lumber. They owned it, they invested quite a bit in it, and they have a nice store there. But that's the concern, and I understand the concerns that people have. And I realize you can't see into the future. None of us can. If we could, I guess our decision would be real easy here tonight. But that's just a concern I had, and I don't know if there's any way to address that. If this goes forward, maybe it's something you could address in some way to relieve the fears of people that you're going to leave us high and dry. And I don't think that's going to happen. That's not my opinion, but you heard from many people who voiced that opinion, so it is a concern. I do have some other comments I'd like to go ahead and make. I owe Walmart nothing. Walmart owes me nothing. And I've been willing to listen to anyone who has chosen to speak to me regarding this issue, and will weigh and consider those comments and everything that's been said to me, along with all the other information and evidence that's presented to us. And before I make a final decision on this. But I can tell you this, the majority of people who I have communicated with regarding this issue either favor it or prefer it to, some of them prefer it not be a Walmart, but they say, it's okay with them if it develops there. They may not particularly like Walmart, but the majority have been in favor of it. And I know we've heard tonight from a number of people who did not favor it, as we did in the last meeting, but I don't believe that's the majority of our community. I can't make a decision based totally on that. And I ask for your respect as I speak. And I will repeat again, the majority of people who I've communicated with regarding this issue either favor the development, even though some may not particularly like that company, but many believe that we need to develop something there. Something needs to happen with our downtown. It's deteriorated far enough. I've lived here over 40 years. My family used to shop down there. We had a lot of stores. Raytown Plaza was flourishing. There were a number of stores who offered a lot of products along 63rd in that area. We shopped there. We bought our boys' shoes there. I bought my wife dresses there. We ate at restaurants there. We even shopped at the grocery store that was at Raytown Plaza. So I'm familiar with what was there. I've seen the deterioration. I've seen the deterioration of the buildings. I challenge you to go by and walk that area and look at those buildings and look at what's there. I mean, really take a hard look. I'm not sure some of it's even salvageable. There's been intimidation of elected officials, suggestions of bribery, and other accusations that I'm personally disgusted by. I'm disgusted by that type of behavior. There have been suggestions of political retaliation. If we fail to vote the way certain people want us to vote on this issue, if I or any of my colleagues here cast their vote based on their potential political future, it would bring into question their personal integrity. I hope that doesn't occur. And to me personally, it's a slap in the face to me and my integrity when people have attempted to use this tactic on me. You know, we as a board should not do the wrong thing because there might be political consequences. Instead, we need to do the right thing. And, you know, just some facts related to our downtown. There is no one, there hasn't been anyone lined up to do a development there. No one with a capital, no one that wants to develop these things. People talk about all the things they can imagine that should be there. You know, we've heard talk about Stroud's Chicken and, you know, a lot of different types of establishments. That people all have their own dreams. I certainly have those dreams and aspirations too. I would like to see other things develop there, but that hasn't happened. No one is came forward with capital to do that. No one is came forward wanting to develop that. It just hasn't happened. This developer is not asking for any type of tax incentive. In fact, they went on record publicly that they will not ask for any type of tax incentive, even though that area is considered a part of a blighted area. That vacant lot is a blighted area, and so it's eligible for a 353 tax abatement in the state. They've said they do not want that. They've said they do not want a CIP, a community improvement district. They have said they want no tips. They're not asking for any of those things. They publicly went on record saying they do not want those. It would give us an opportunity to finally dispose of the lead weight that's been around our neck as a city. We really shouldn't be in the real estate business. There's some property that we own in this town probably strategically we need to hold on to because we may need it in the future for other things related to city government. But that's not one of those. Was it a mistake for the city to purchase that property in the first place? I would say absolutely it was. But, you know, I don't think that the people that did that had any bad intention. Their intention was for something good. They thought someone was going to come in and want to develop that and the city was going to make a lot of money off of that. It didn't happen. You know, I've been to Disney World a couple, 3 times. Probably a lot of you have been. They've got a fantasy land there, you know. It's you can go in there and you can just imagine all kinds of things. You can fantasize. You can fantasize about a lot of things. But at some point in time, you have to come back out of fantasy land and you have to come back into reality. I've heard a lot of people speak to this issue that I think are in fantasy land. and they need to come back to reality. And I would love to see a town square there. I don't think there's probably really enough space there to accommodate that, because it probably wouldn't accommodate all the trucks delivering things and all the traffic that would come in there, even if we had that. If someone wanted to invest the capital and develop that, I think it probably would. It's too small a space. Now, there are that, in addition to other space in the downtown area, could accommodate growth and accommodate new businesses and new buildings and development. But as I look at this, I can't help but see that as something that might spark that development there. You know, if we choose not to do this, I'm afraid our downtown will die, and it will continue to deteriorate. And unfortunately, there are a few people out there, and I think that's a minority of people, who would really be willing to see our downtown die, not to have this development there. And yes, I know there are people out there, and there are people in our city, and I've spoken to several people who hate Walmart. They hate the corporation. That's not what we're really here talking about tonight. And, you know, I've had a number of people tell me, well, if it wasn't Walmart, if it was Price Chopper, or if it was some other neighborhood market, I would be fine with it. So, you know, in reality, what they're saying is, if it has that name on it, I don't like it. And I think that would be the absolute wrong reason to reject this. I will still listen to everything that is said, but it would not be fair for me not to share the positive things that I see about this with you. And as I go down the list of positive and negative, the positive far outweighs the negative. Now, if someone can convince me that there are enough negative things that I haven't heard about yet, then certainly I will listen to that. I'll listen to everything that's said. I always do listen. Contrary to what I've been accused of, I've listened to everybody that's talked to me, and I'm willing to talk to anybody that's talked about this issue. Thank you.
Mr. Green.
All right.
Josh Green.
I'm going to keep my concerns short because it's already almost 2 o'clock. So I know.
You've got breakfast ordered, so.
All right, good enough. 3 things. First of all, I just want to say in response to Mr. Rambo's comments, I can tell you from just talking or walking my dog in my ward, or contacts in my ward, or whenever I go grocery shopping, at least from a public opinion standpoint. And again, this is just in Ward 1. I'm not in Ward 4 that often, so I don't know the details over there. But the public is overwhelmingly in opposition of this in Ward 1, I feel. I mean, this is just people I literally run into on the street. Now, I've heard good points on both sides, and I'm not saying that we need to vote just on public perception, because that's not the only thing to attribute to the conversation. But I think that when you say that we shouldn't, vote based on what our constituents feel, because they would show a lack of integrity on our part, I feel that in reality is our job as representatives is to, in matters sometimes like this, to represent the wishes of those people. And I feel like that's something also that's pretty important to kind of consider here. That being said, I feel like there's really 2 issues that I really want to bring up with this. Firstly, I don't know what the practicality of this would be, and someone would have to help me out with this, but I heard someone mention possibly placing in the agreement a demolition bond with this, and I think that'd be a very good idea, considering that and historically speaking, we've seen cases where Walmart has come in and then left an abandoned property for years that is a lot of times undesirable and ends up sitting empty for a while. The other thing I would like to bring up, and I'd like to make a condition of this, if you will, is I would like to limit the hours to from 6 to 10, based purely upon the fact that the only other store that is within a very short vicinity of R is also 6 to 10. The only other grocery store, which is going to be Constantino's Apple Market in Woodson Village. And since there are multiple bars around the proposed site, I would like to see the hours limited to 6 to 10 possibly.
To get things moving along, would you like to?
I would like to make a motion, sure.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to add as a stipulation.
This one I am motioning, we'll just do this one by one, if that's okay. I guess this is a motion for the hours.
Hours of 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yes.
Is the motion. We have a second for that.
I'll second it.
Very good. We can get the next one. All right, discussion on that motion. Ms. Nelson.
In the original hours that were presented to us for the neighborhood market, it's from 6 a.m. to midnight. And so we are asking them for 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. But is that something that we need discussion with the applicant about? Or we can just say, oh, by the way, now you can't, you gotta close at 10 o'clock?
You may make hours of operation a condition. I have some concerns about the demolition bond, however, since I will grab
That's a different subject, right?
That's why I was asking, any clarification.
Well, stick with the hours. We got to get something checked off here, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So, discussion, any further discussion on the hours?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a comment that was made about something I said that is not, doesn't reflect the hours. But I did not say we shouldn't vote based on what our constituents feel. Those are not my words. I did not say that. If you'd like for me to go back and tell you what I said, I'd be happy to do that, Mr. Mayor or anyone else. But those were not my words.
Okay, in discussion on the hours, staff recommended 6 to 12, you asked for 6 to 10. We're in discussion on that item, Mr. White.
I was curious if Alderman Nelson's question, which she thought may be directed toward Walmart representatives, would that be a deal breaker to them if it was those hours? Is that what you intended, Ms. Nelson?
As far as you want to ask Walmart that question, it puts them on the spot, but I think we as a board tonight can stipulate whatever you want it to be.
Oh, I know we can. I was
You
just,
offer to the applicant. The applicant has the right to accept or reject it.
and that's fine. I understand that. I was trying to understand what her question actually was. And that's what the intent was. I'm not telling her to do that. Just trying to understand if that was what she intended.
But it is. But I will go ahead and we'll look at discussion on the 6 to 10.
We're in the middle of that discussion right now. Mr. Green.
I was going to say, I think with the proximity to the bars around it, that's probably a good idea for it to close a little bit early. Yeah.
Further discussion?
Yeah, Woodson Village in the street, they're open from 6 to 10. I noticed that they did have Price Chopper. It is in Kansas City. It's not in Raytown. I noticed they are open from 6 to midnight, but they are in Kansas City. I want to keep this to Raytown, stay to 6 to 10.
All right, any further discussion? Is it you desire to ask the applicant on this?
I would like to hear what the applicant has to say to that.
Would you like to weigh in on that? Walmart.
Walmart came before you and asked to operate for 24 hours a day. The board and some citizens have asked us to consider shorter hours. And Walmart conceded. Came back and said, because of your request, we are willing to operate between the hours of essentially 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. And as of this moment, that is the only authority we have. We are more than agreeable to going back to ask Walmart if they are willing to operate with fewer hours. But the initial position has been that places the company at an unacceptable competitive disadvantage. Mr. Benson, in his analysis of our competitors, indicated that many are already operating between the hours that we've agreed to. And we can't say that with certainty, but we can say that we will ask, but there is a possibility that it will be a deal breaker.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Kramer.
Mr. Green, directed to you, has there been a high probability of crime with the bars that are located in that area that would make you believe that we would need to close at 10 o'clock?
I feel like that there is a possibility that people would move from, for long story short here, would take the after party over to Walmart. Even if the bars don't close till 1, they might want to just go and sit in the parking lot, which is right behind the bars. And I think that's a possibility, and I just want to kind of nip that in the bud before it becomes an issue.
There's only one that's really in that close of proximity. The other, the Irish pub, is further down the road. Those are across the street and down the road.
I feel that when you have an open business that's going to be open until midnight, that it might attract people over to that area. And that's my reasoning behind this this proposition.
But the bars are open until 1:30.
I understand that, but some people might want to leave early and still hang out somewhere else. I mean, there's a reason that, I'll put it this way, I find it, I don't find it to be coincidental that the only grocery store that apparently has hours of 6 to 10, as we received in our packet, is the only one that's literally within close vicinity of an alcoholic establishment like
That was
that.
by their choice. That wasn't dictated by city order.
Let me go. Yeah, Joe, you gotta be careful talking on the microphone. We've got Jason Green's at the floor.
I view it as speaking of competitive disadvantage, I view if you have the out market on Woodson operating from 6 to 10, and again, I don't know if we know that was by choice or by force. I tried to get clarification on that earlier, and we don't have that information. Being said, it's a competitive advantage for Walmart. If they're open 6 to 12, while the other guy is only allowed to be open from 6 to 10. So I can view he's viewing it from a crime standpoint, I'm viewing it from an economic standpoint in terms of competitiveness.
Mr. Asher. We're staying on the discussion related to the hours.
I would approach it from the logical approach, and that would be that if you're concerned about Walmart going out of business and leaving with an empty building, why would you put them with a disadvantage? That's just a question.
To the best of my recollection, the grocery store at Woodson Village at one time was open later than that. But I am very satisfied that the reason they changed their hours because they decided to do that. Probably based on the number of customers they had that time of night at that particular location. IB just made a decision not too long ago to make their hours 24 hours a day. They decided that themselves. They're open 24 hours. That was not dictated to them, and I don't believe the hours have been dictated to any of those stores. And I could be mistaken about that, but I don't think that's correct.
All right.
I just want to say one more thing that I feel like that we need, if we're going to do anything concerning the hours of operation with this, I think we should do it for what's in the best interest of the community and not whether it's a deal breaker for Walmart.